My name is Maurice Torrey, born in Johnston, Scotland on the 17th of May, 1950.
So, Maurice.
Well, I started engineering and then moved on from a company in Scotland. I moved into London and had an opportunity to join Dunlop Rubber Company, and there was a job available as competition manager rallies for the world. And I talked to the boss, Dick Jeffries, at that point when I was doing my interview, and I said to him, is there any opportunity that I could continue on racing? And he said, absolutely no way, that the business that you're going to be doing is going around the world looking after manufacturers' rally teams, and I don't want you to be racing as well. So that kind of broke my heart, because I'd been racing quite a few years before that. So I phoned up my friends at the RAC that I knew pretty well and asked the girls there would they change the name for me, make a name change, and they said sure. So the first thing was Torrey Morris, but then we said, well, what about Tony Morris? That makes a little bit more sense, a bit easier. And I said, sure, that would be great. So that's where the Tony Morris came from back in 1967. Sorry, 1964. And that's where it came. That's where it's been ever since.
Number 88, Tony Morris dared the field to come catch him. Frank Ellers in car number 1 took the dare early until Alan Berg pushed him out of contention. An early setback for one of the 4 cars in the Flag Chev-Ols team.
I think it's a superb stepping stone for young drivers coming up. It's a natural progression to go into Formula cars.
The benefits to sponsors and drivers are many.
The Eastern Series and the Western Series both are on television, national television, a Saturday afternoon. Look at the great companies that are involved, Hostess, Esso, Protac. It's fantastic. I mean, it's great exposure for you.
These drivers are all winners on and off the track. Great representatives for their sponsors. This time out, it's Tony Morris winning the checkered flag with Laurie Craig right behind and Andy Mahood capturing 3rd. As a tough drivers' championship battle shaped up in the West.
0.3 litre, it goes up as high as 16 pounds, which is really good. At the top end of the scale and the bottom end, the car responds very quickly to that high boost pressure. I can promise you, this is a muscle car. It's not the Boss 302 as we knew it, but it is, in the modern day turbo cars, one of the best ones I've driven for sheer horsepower.
Driving one of these cars.
Well, what we try to do is, I don't think you ever win a race with a green flag. So if you can stay up with the front runners, and even if you're 5th or 6th, like I've said earlier on, do not panic. Just stay there with them. Usually find the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd guy. If the 1st guy doesn't get away, they will use their equipment up. And many's a race over the last, since '86, that I've actually got guys and passed them going in because I've conserved my equipment. Sometimes I've made the same mistake by sitting back too far, and the first group get away and you can never catch up to them again. But basically, these stock cars, you must conserve the equipment, and especially the tires and brakes. If you let the brakes go, you're dead. If the tires go, you're dead. You're absolute toast. You can't get it back.
Actually, it was a minivan I had to start with when I think about it. It was a minivan, and then I had a mini 2-door sedan. And I just worked in those 2 cars. I used one actually to drive in, and I used one to race in. Well, I did slaloms all around London area. I went into the West Country with it as well to do slaloms. And the first race I did, I think, was either Irland, Scotland, or it was in Brands Hatch. I think maybe it was at Brands Hatch, and then I pretty well did every racetrack in England after that.
First car you owned, what was it?
It was a Ford 8, 1938 Ford 8, black and black. It was absolutely awesome car, and I put a 10 horsepower. I had a buddy and I bought the car, a friend down the street and I bought the car, and we put a 10 horsepower motor in, and it was much faster. It was unbelievable how good it was. It was unreal. just a stock 10 horsepower motor. And everyone was going great. He would drive and I would drive and I'd use it and he'd use it, and it was good. So one night we decided we'd go out to Largs, which is a little town about 25-30 miles away from home, and we went out to Largs and picked a couple of girls up and had a bit of fun and drunk them off, and then came home again. We were coming home about 1 o'clock in the morning, and we came round a left-hander in a farmer's field, and unfortunately we flipped the car over, and it went over and over twice and back up in the wheels again, and we just kept on driving through the farmer's gate and got to my buddy's house, and partner's house I guess you'd call it, and we washed the car, and that was it. I dumped outside the house, and the next morning you would not have known the car had been over. I guess we went on grass. When the thing flipped over twice, it went on the grass, and there was no mark on the car whatsoever. So my old man said to me, "What time did you get in last night?" And I said, "I've no idea, Dad." He said, "Don't lie to me. You weren't in until 2 o'clock in the morning." I didn't like to say to him I was washing a car, but anyway, the car wasn't marked, so there was nobody jumping down our throat over it, and parents screaming at us we're driving too fast. So that was good fun. Then I started to realize just how big this country was. And I drove most of the way. I'd drive and leave a car, then fly, and then drive and leave a car, then fly, and then drive. And I started to realize there's such a beautiful country we lived in. I really thought Scotland was gorgeous, and I really do think Scotland's gorgeous, but this country is just so gorgeous and so fantastic. What a life to be able to drive across it and part of your job. It was just fabulous. And I think the big thing too then, what happened was that 20 years ago, it seems a long time ago, I got approached by Porsche to look after their press fleet. And the press fleet is sometimes a couple of cars, but actually I ended up with 5 or 6 cars. Brand new Porsches that we gave out. I had 69 journalists from Vancouver to Winnipeg, and I would give the car to each of these guys for 1 week at a time. So I had moved the cars back and forth, and that went on for 20 years. So I was a press fleet manager for Porsche for 20 years, up until 2 years ago. And now I'm working with my son, Tony Morris Jr., looking after 2 or 3 other manufacturers as well, doing exactly the same job. So that's my life now. So it's a very, very nice job to have. Well, I'd say that 99% of my life has been so fantastic from motorsport. It really has. There's so many nice guys out there. There's always people that have problems with people, but I've found that 99% of the people in motorsport are really nice people, and it just takes a couple of minutes to get to know them and shake a hand or put an arm around them or say well done, or something nice to say. No matter who the person is, always softens, and I think that's a nice part of motorsport. It's a great, friendly, it's a tough business, but very, very easily to get friendly with all the competitors and with the public as well. If you're good with the public, the competitors seem to come around you, and the public love you, and TV are great people, and I've had a great time in my life. I can't say. Cheers.